Sagittarius, a truth is about to be revealed, and this time, nothing can hide the light. Pause for a moment with me. Place your hand over your heart. Feel that rhythm. It's the proof that you're still here, still standing, despite everything that has happened. Your soul, strong yet scarred, deserves to rest. Inhale deeply. Exhale gently. This is your sacred space. No one here is judging you. No one is forcing you to forgive if you're not ready. Here, there is only truth. The kind of truth seen through the eyes of a soul that has watched the light be stolen by hands that once pretended to love. And today, I am not just here to tell you what's coming, but to help you understand why it is coming, so you'll never again confuse real light with its reflection. When I pulled the cards, the first image to appear was the silhouette of a woman. But this time, it wasn't anonymous. It was familiar. An energy you've felt more than once in your life. A feminine soul has been around you, not to support you, but to drain your light like a parasite. She does not know how to nourish life within herself. She doesn't know how to walk on her own 2 feet. And so, she chose to live by casting shadows over your journey, your Sagittarius journey, the one where you are trying to fly far with wings of your own. This isn't necessarily hatred, but emptiness inside her. Envy doesn't always come from malice. Sometimes, it comes from an unnamed hunger, from a lost soul who sees you as a reminder that they've abandoned themselves for too long. And now the truth is rising, not to hurt you, but to set you free. Because when real light arrives, every borrowed shadow gets exposed. You don't have to confront. You don't have to accuse. The universe has seen enough. Remember this, Sagittarius. Not everyone who walks with you deserves to see where you're going. And sometimes, losing someone is a gift that's not wrapped in beauty, but it's what allows you to fly higher. Your lesson isn't just in the pain, it's in how you choose to move forward. You can choose anger, or you can choose awakening. You can choose to teach them a lesson, or you can be the lesson through your radiant, quiet strength. Sometimes, the greatest lesson you leave behind for someone is the fact that you never look back. So Sagittarius, if you've been feeling that a relationship, a friend, or a certain woman has crossed a line, you're not imagining things. It's an awakening. And if you've stayed silent for too long because you didn't want to hurt anyone, maybe now is the time to ask yourself, but what about you? Who is protecting your light? Write this beneath the video as a sacred affirmation for your soul. I choose the real light. And I don't have to be drained to prove my goodness. Because you deserve a life where your energy is honored, not consumed by souls who still haven't learned how to love themselves. Sagittarius, you did nothing wrong, but your light made someone else face the darkness inside themselves. And that is why they began to resist you. Not because you offended them, but because every time you climbed another step, every time you stood up after a fall, they felt left behind in the stagnation they refused to face. They saw in you a mirror of the person they chose not to become. Before we continue, write this below the video as a declaration to the universe. I release what does not belong to me, and I welcome my own light. When you write that, you are not only protecting yourself, you are closing an old door, one that once allowed others to enter your energy with envy and manipulation. They might be very close, inside your innermost circle, the place you once believed was the safest. They may have spoken kind words, shared smiles, raised a glass with you under glowing lights. But behind your back, they sowed doubt. They cast shadows on your path with false words, with silent eyes of comparison. And what I see from the symbols is that they didn't stop at human actions. They reached for distorted places of energy, where people use rituals, shards of mirrors, and whispers under the moon to dim someone else's path. Not because they truly understood what they were doing, but because they were desperate to keep you from flying too far. But there is something they do not know. You not fly by the wind, you fly by the origin of your soul. You are the one who carries the symbol of the archer, always aiming your arrow toward the highest skies, not to compete, but to return to the mission your soul once chose. You were not created to be imprisoned in the envy of others. You were created to transmit light, not to ask anyone's permission to shine. And that is why you are still standing. Even though they tried to make you doubt, even though they whispered behind curtains, even though they tried to close every door, you are still here. And today, you are beginning to see that what was once hidden is now returning to the very ones who sent it. Those impure intentions no longer have the power to persist because you are reclaiming your strength. Hatred has no soil to root in where self-love exists. Manipulation has no power where there is awareness. And justice, true justice, is on its way. Not to punish, not to give you revenge, but to return to you what has always been yours: peace, clarity, sovereignty, and a future no longer controlled by anyone else. But for that to fully unfold, you must also act. Not through retaliation, but through a decision that runs far deeper. Letting go. Let go of relationships that exist only out of obligation. Let go of familiar people who only leave you drained. Let go of guilt you've carried on behalf of others. Let go of the habit of staying silent while your heart is screaming. You already know. You've always known. Your intuition has never been quiet. It's spoken through your dreams, through the strange chills when you were near them, through your eyes in the mirror when you no longer recognized yourself. You've tried to forgive. You've told yourself many times they didn't mean to. But the truth is, they didn't need to mean it, because energy does not lie. And here's the message for you. You, Sagittarius, who are returning to your original light. You no longer need to carry someone else's story. You no longer need to stay silent to keep the peace. You no longer need to give again to those who never truly wanted you to be happy. Write this down as a vow to your soul. I choose to end the old cycle. I do not carry darkness that does not belong to me. I return to the light of my own being. And you will see, when you truly choose yourself, the entire universe will choose you too. This is where I want to ask you, not with your mind, but with your heart. Who is the person you need to let go of? Even if it hurts so deeply, it takes your breath away. What connection are you still clinging to? Not because of love, but because you're afraid of loneliness. You know that this energy no longer resonates with you, but you haven't yet found the courage to say goodbye. I'm not asking you to answer me. I am simply inviting you to answer yourself, not with your voice, but with deep, sacred listening. Listen to the sound of yourself still living in a land where you were always meant to bloom. Because the sacred symbols today didn't just show me your soul. They showed me the journey you've quietly survived. A soul that loved more than it was ever given. A person who trusted, even after being betrayed, who stayed silent, even when they deserved to speak, who forgave over and over simply to hold on to whatever remained of a connection that had long been cracked. And because you were compassionate, they mistook you for naive. Because you avoided conflict, they thought you were weak. Because you didn't fight back, they believed they were right. But you, Sagittarius, you didn't fall. You simply became more awake than ever before. And then the card appeared. Not just any card, the Empress. The symbol of birth, feminine power, and the soul's rebirth from its original source. You are the embodiment of this card. Once you stop hiding your light just to keep others from squinting. This card doesn't just speak of you, it reminds you. New light cannot grow on poisoned ground. Beauty cannot bloom on foundations that have been eroded. Blessings cannot stay where purification has not taken place. Life is asking you to do the hardest thing, to release, once and for all, what no longer belongs to you. Listen closely to this, with a heart that is ready to heal. That dark energy, the one that once surrounded you, made you doubt yourself, can no longer reach you. Not because it stopped, but because you've stepped beyond its frequency. You're not there anymore. You've shifted. You're vibrating at a higher, brighter, more sacred level. And what no longer resonates will naturally fall away. Sagittarius, you are being reborn, and nothing can stop that now. You are the phoenix. No one understands ashes like you do. No one knows what it feels like to lose direction, to break wings, to fall into the deep like you do. But also, no one knows how to rise as powerfully, as beautifully, as divinely as you do, from the very place you were once defeated. You are stepping into the next chapter, where silent prayers begin to echo, where broken dreams begin to mend, where blessings, this time late but true, are finally knocking on your door. And if your heart has begun to stir as you read these words, write this below the video as a commitment to the universe. I choose to live in my true light. I accept the rebirth my soul deserves. Because you are not just a survivor. You are the one chosen to bloom, after walking through the very fire that was meant to consume you. I release what doesn't belong to me and welcome the light that is mine. If you haven't written it yet, please do it now, or say it aloud, so the universe can hear you, and more importantly, so you can hear yourself. Because every time you affirm what you deserve, you lay down another stone on the path back to yourself. And today, I invite you to walk that path, slowly, one step at a time. Let me tell you something the cards just whispered to me, subtle but undeniable. It's a burden, an invisible weight you've carried too long, too deeply, too silently. A part of you has become an expert at smiling while your heart breaks. You've pretended to be okay, so no one else would feel the pain. You held back tears, not because you didn't want to cry, but because you were afraid others would hurt seeing you weak. You wore armor so heavy that even you stopped realizing you were exhausted. You tried, for everyone. You did the right things. You kept the peace. You gave, even when your soul was a scorched field. And now, my love, that burden is what you must release, not to forget, but to heal. Not because you are weak, but because true strength is knowing when it's time to lay down the shield that's become too heavy. Your guides, the angels, the sacred ancestors, have sent you a clear message. It is time to be free. Free from pain that was never yours. Free from guilt you inherited. Free from choices you made only to keep others from being disappointed. And then the card appeared. Not just any card, the Judgment. A card that never shows up by accident. It comes only when your soul is ready to hear a deeper call. Awaken, it is time. This is not a call to fight. It is a summoning from your soul, calling you home. Judgment is sacred justice, the kind of justice that doesn't need anyone to defend you, doesn't need arguments, doesn't need proof. Because true justice is never loud, it is quiet, but it is never wrong. Every tear you ever shed in silence has been seen. Every time you felt betrayal, even when no one admitted it, has been recorded. Your heart screamed the truth, and the universe heard it. And today, balance is beginning to return. You don't need to plan revenge. You don't need to explain yourself to anyone. You don't need to argue against the injustice. The universe will do that for you. And you only need to do one thing. Focus. Focus on the light that is growing inside you. Focus on the pieces of your soul that once shattered and are now fusing back together with courage. Focus on your journey, no one else's. Focus on the future, where you live not by endurance, but by freedom. Sagittarius, you are no longer who you once were, and that changes everything. You have awakened. And once the light inside you opens its eyes, darkness has nowhere left to hide. Write this down as a sacred vow between you and your soul. I no longer have to pretend to be strong. I have become myself, and that is enough. When others are left to carry the weight of what they've sown, you, the one who was once wounded, begin to bloom. And that blooming is so beautiful that no one can deny it. When I close my eyes with the cards in my hand, an image comes through, clear and strong. A prayer, a wish you whispered in the dark when no one was there to listen. But the universe heard you, not because you said it loudly, but because your heart, in that moment, was so sincere that all of heaven went quiet. Your guides tell me this: yes, that prayer was received, and it is on its way, not in the form you imagined, not at the time you expected, but in the way you most needed, to help you grow, to keep you from falling back into the old cycles again. It may come as legal news, a financial breakthrough, or a door you thought was closed forever. What you've been waiting for is making its way towards you, and you will recognize it through unmistakable signs, if you're quiet enough to notice. But for it to arrive in full, you must do something difficult. Stop looking back. Stop clinging to what has passed, just because you fear the emptiness. That emptiness is not a loss. It is cleared soil, ready for new seeds to be planted. And now, once more, I gently but sincerely invite you to ask yourself, what are you still holding on to, even though you know it's time to let go? Who, what, or where is draining you, but you continue to hold on simply because you fear being alone? You don't have to tell anyone. You only need to answer yourself without the mask, because at that point, your journey will shift, and that shift will change everything. I saw something in the cards that made my eyes well up. A new energy is beginning to awaken within you. It doesn't come from outside. It doesn't need anyone's permission. It's always been there, but now it's rising. A magical blend of clarity, confidence, and inner power. A Sagittarius who has stopped forcing and started living in the most free and authentic version of themselves. And then, the star appeared. Oh, Sagittarius, I know you thought you had lost it all. I know you once believed the light would never return. But it's always when the night is longest that the star finally appears. The star is the spark of hope after devastation. It's a message that you were never truly alone. The card tells me this, and I believe it's something you need to hear. You didn't go through all of that just to survive. You went through it to become a guide. A soul whose story, with all its cracks, is the very light that can lead others forward. There are people waiting to hear your experience, so they know they too can make it through. And that, dear Sagittarius, is part of your purpose. Not to please anyone, not to be perfect, but to live truthfully, so that those still wandering through deserts can see light never goes out, as long as we don't give up. So I'll ask you this, like an old soul watching you with pride across lifetimes, will you allow yourself to stop justifying your pain? Will you allow yourself to receive good things, without guilt, without suspicion? Write this beneath the video. I no longer hold on to what has hurt me. I open my heart to what my soul deserves. And then, let that light guide you, because this time you are no longer alone. You are the light, you are the guide, and this world is in need of a light like yours. And if your soul whispers yes, then say it with all the honesty you can offer. Write it down if you'd like, or simply close your eyes and whisper to the universe, I allow myself to be happy. I deserve what is good. Because sometimes the greatest shift begins, not with a step forward, but with one sacred yes from the heart. And from the moment you choose yourself, the pieces of your life begin to align. Not because of magic, but because energy finally finds its rightful flow. That is the result and the gift of no longer choosing anyone over yourself. And when that happens, you begin to look back on every tear you cried in silence, not as tragedy, but as ritual cleansing. You realize it wasn't punishment, it wasn't abandonment, it was preparation to become a version of you so strong that nothing old could hold you back again. And then the cards showed me something real, something I know you'll feel deeply. It's about love, not the rosy kind that lives in dreamy illusions, but the kind of love that once made you wait, that once gave you hope, then withdrew it, right when you needed it most. I see a relationship that shaped you profoundly, not just for what it gave, for everything it could never give. You loved wholeheartedly. You waited in silence. You hoped through exhaustion. You didn't just offer your heart, you gave away the purest part of your soul. And when they couldn't hold what you gave, it wasn't just love that broke, but trust within you that cracked open. Even today, though you no longer cry through the night, though you've moved forward, there's still a part of you whispering, will there ever be someone who isn't afraid of the depth within me? Will there be someone mature enough to love me in the way I deserve? Because real love never asks you to shrink so someone else can shine. And in this very moment, the cards offer me a sacred sign. Two of Cups. I felt a wave of emotion as it appeared, because this is not just the card of romantic love, it's the card of right timing, of a soul who has also walked through ruin, like you. This person isn't coming to save you, they're coming to walk beside you, because you no longer need to be completed. You are enough, you are whole, steady, beautiful, just as you are. And you will know them, not by words, but by the peace you feel in their presence. After all the noise, after all the breaking, true love doesn't arrive like fireworks. It comes like a deep exhale after a long, weary day. It is the quiet comfort between two souls who have stopped pretending. But for this sacred connection to find you, you must do this. Clear the space, clear out old emotional habits, memories that have turned to calluses, conversations that still replay in your mind long after the other person has gone. There is space in your heart still being occupied, not because you're still in love, but because you never truly closed the door. And Sagittarius, do you know something? Letting go doesn't mean you failed. Letting go means you've stopped justifying pieces that were never meant to fit. It means you've stopped sacrificing yourself just to maintain something that was already misaligned. It means you are choosing yourself, even if no one else chooses you anymore. And now, I ask you, as if your soul is asking itself, will you allow yourself to step into new love without guilt, without carrying doubt? Will you dare to believe that this time, love won't come from lack, but from two people who are already full? If you're ready, write this beneath the video. I have cleared the space in my heart, and true love is finding its way to me. And you know something? We're not stopping here, because soon I will tell you something, the surprise your soul agreed to before you were even born. A truth that only appears when you dare to release, so you can receive. Are you ready to hear it? And if your heart is ready to nod, please do so, with full faith, not with resentment, but with gratitude. Because even the love that broke you was a stern teacher. It taught you your boundaries, taught you what you truly deserve. And though it wasn't fair, it made you grow. And today you are here, stronger, clearer, more yourself than ever. Not because it didn't hurt you, but because you didn't let yourself stay there. And so I ask you one more thing. With all the love a matured soul can offer another awakening soul, are you ready to finally release the bond that once held you? Not to deny it, but to close it gently with gratitude and turn away forever. If your answer is yes, say it aloud or write it as a sacred ritual. I am ready to receive a love that is worthy of my light. And that is when the universe begins to move. Not because you begged, but because you declared. Not for a perfect love, but for a true one. From someone with a soul, with commitment, and without fear of the brilliant light within you. And when they draw near, and yes, they are drawing near, you won't need to wonder. You'll feel it, in the peace that settles when they're beside you. A peace that doesn't come from hiding, but from being seen and accepted. You are learning how to set boundaries again, without guilt. You are learning to say no, without trembling. You're beginning to look at yourself, not with judgment, but with the gentleness you've always shown others. You're coming home to yourself, and that is sacred. And then I saw this, so clearly within your energy field. A major decision is waiting for you. You've delayed it, not because you're weak, but because you're afraid that once you choose it, everything will change forever. Maybe it's leaving, maybe it's starting over, maybe it's letting go, maybe it's finally choosing what you've always known is true. But you know, when night falls, when the room is quiet, when it's just you and yourself, that voice always returns. The voice that says, I don't belong here anymore. It's not that you hate what you have, it's that you've grown beyond it. And I want to ask you this, not for me, but for you to answer to yourself, in the mirror. What are you delaying, even though you know it's what you must do? What are you holding on to, just because you fear the unknown? Name it. Acknowledge it, because only when you dare to look it in the eye, does everything begin to shift. The universe doesn't align with pretense. Life cannot flow through what you refuse to face. And even if you tremble as you take that step, the reward is still waiting for you on the other side of fear. Not a material reward, but clarity, freedom, peace. And I want to call you the way light calls out to a soul finding its way. My little girl, child of the light. This final part is not a farewell, it is a beginning. We are closing an old cycle, full of things that were never yours. And you are about to step into a version of life that resembles you more than ever before. The cards are clear. You are not just ending a phase, you are breaking a generational pattern. I see a story that has repeated through lifetimes. Women forgetting themselves for others. Men loving in silence and restraint. An entire lineage that learned how to survive without ever learning how to truly be. But you came to end that. You came to say, I will not endure like those before me. I choose myself, and I do not apologize for that. And at this intersection, where everything becomes clear, where old denials no longer fit who you are, I see the Sun card. A radiant light, one that only appears when the worst is finally behind you. You've come so far, and you no longer have to walk alone. Write this down as your new declaration. I no longer repeat the history of pain. I write the next chapter in the light of my own becoming. This is a sacred announcement. Your soul has survived the longest night, and not just survived. It is rising with a new joy, no longer tied to guilt, with a peace that asks for nothing in return, with a love that no longer springs from old wounds. The sun shows up as a blessing, that the light in you is no longer hidden, that warmth has found its way back to you. After a journey that demanded so much of yourself, you are now allowed to be gentle. You don't need to do anything more. You only need to stop denying yourself. And just when I thought we had reached the end, another card slid out on its own. The world. I felt chills as I saw it, because the sun and the world together signal a complete spiritual rebirth. Not because you were ever wrong, but because now you are becoming the version of you that matches your soul. A you, free, whole, and needing no permission. And then, one more thing is revealed. A major decision is drawing very near. It might be a conversation with God, about something you once thought could never change. It might be a turning point, the closure of an entire era. It might be an act of release, not because you lost, but because you're now brave enough to stop holding on to what no longer lives inside you. And you know what? It won't be easy, but it will be just. And afterward, clarity will arrive, like sunlight after a storm. You can no longer remain in places that make you wither. You can no longer stay silent to hold on to something that was never truly yours. So I say this to you, with all my heart, what's coming for you, Sagittarius, is a chapter unlike anything your soul has ever written. A season where you are seen, chosen, and honored, exactly as you deserve. But first, you must choose yourself. No conditions, no justifications, no exceptions. And when your guides showed me how to close this reading, one last card appeared, the Chariot, the card of forward movement, of profound victory, not for your ego, but for your soul. This is the power born when you stop running and begin steering the wheel of your own destiny. A shift is coming. It may be a physical move, a goodbye, a project, a doorway, a reunion. But whatever it is, it will lead you to a new life. A life where you don't have to pretend, a life where love doesn't hurt, a life that feels like the dream you once whispered with your eyes closed. And before we end, I leave you with an affirmation, like a healing spell, written into the candle of your soul. I accept my light. I release the past. I open my heart to love, peace, and abundance. I declare sacred justice for every wound I endured in silence. All that is good is coming to me, and I receive it with gratitude. Take a deep breath as you read these words. Let each one sink in, like medicine for the parts of you still waiting to be touched. Because this isn't just a reading, it's a reunion between you and what has always belonged to you. And if any part of this made you feel seen, understood, or gently held, then it was meant for you, not by chance, but because you're ready. What's coming, Sagittarius, is not some distant dream. It is real ground. It is warmth in your chest. It is home. Thank you for allowing this journey to walk with you to this point. And remember, what happened before was not your fault. But from here on, it is your choice. And this time, you will choose differently. And you will receive what you truly deserve.